me a fire, baby, let me dance to your love. I wanna feel your fire burn, rising from the flames. Baptize on me to burn again. Let me dance in the rhythm of your flame. If I burn, let me die to burn again. If I burn, let me die to burn again.
Welcome to Get Lit. I'm Blue Star Deerwomon, and this is Rebecca Hahn.
Hi, welcome to the show.
So, as we were preparing ourselves today for this show, today we bring you absolutely nothing.
Zip, zilch, zero,
Yeah.
squat.
Usually what I try to do is I try to go into my personal space and find out, what's lit up in me. And the last 48 hours I've been in what I call the ebb. We have the ebb and the flow on the planet. And I'm in a serious ebb, which has all kinds of terminology. It's the void, it's the absence of inspiration, it's just empty. And so, I was asking myself, and we were chatting a little bit before the show, it's like, oh great, so we're going to talk about nothing. But I think, and I always go to that...
Today is brought to you by the letter N for nothing.
Nothing. And I always think of this as, as I sit, but I'm gonna share what happened to me last night. But I always go to that global shamanic, the shamanic state of the world, and I sometimes look at that barometer in my personal being, knowing that we're connected, that I'm sure I'm not alone. And so last night, it was going on the 48th hour, and I could feel myself. I was sitting, and nothing was there, and I have enough tools to say, okay, that's fine. I finally just said, I'm going to just take it to my dream world. I'm putting myself to sleep early, and I turned it over to the mother, I turned it over to my dreams, and I said, deal with it there, would you please? And I realized when I woke up, I did recall dreams, but it was mostly, I could feel I had this tension in my dreams, like wanting to understand what's going on. And honestly, I didn't really come out with a heck of a lot. And so here I am. Here we are.
With nothing.
With nothing. And then just a few minutes ago, we were talking about that I've watched this in myself long enough. Years and years ago, when I used to get in this space, I used to seriously think, oh my gosh, you're depressed. You're in depression. And then, of course, I get all worried about that. And over time, I realized that now I don't compare this emptiness to anything anymore. I've come to a place where I really trust that when I'm in the ebb, if I really just stay okay with it, like just okay with what is, there's always some tremendous gift or inspiration on the other side when it starts to flow again. And the only thing I remember last night is when I was sitting, I asked the mother, Sophia Gaia, I just said, what's going on? And she said, well, observe me. She says, on the inside, I'm pretty quiet. And then she showed me a river. She says, the river flows, you flow. She said, if you go inside me, I gurgle, your body gurgles. There's nothing wrong with this stillness. And so it brings up a permeating theme. That everything in me keeps prompting me towards this deep quietude and stillness. Over the years, I've had to struggle with, but if I get this still, will I even remember how to feed myself? What about my brothers and sisters in the world? Will I make any effort to help do whatever's needed? And yet, it's been cyclic. It keeps, and I thought, keep going back to this quietude, but if in fact we're nurturing our resonance with the mother, she's pretty still. I mean, she is pretty still. I mean, yes, she enthuses life, the trees, the plants, and us. But in essence, and then again, there's my mind, you know. My mind trying to grasp for an explanation. But these are the things that, you know, I've observed over the years. So I've come to this place where, okay, I'm in a very serious ebb right now. So, what might you add to this?
Nothing. And
What,
for nothing.
what might you add to this? Are you all having some ebb time?
Yeah, so we're also in the middle of a couple of weeks of on and off being iced and snowed in. So, you know, you look at that and it's just so quiet out there.
Mm-hmm.
What might I add to that? Oh, I was thinking a few thoughts. One was, if everybody would just honor their still point when it occurs, that, you know, you were saying, how am I going to help my brothers and sisters if I'm in this, you know, empty place and really needing to be still? But if everybody honored that, that's how we're helping each other, because at least as an American culture, we are so go, go, go and so depleted, and our adrenals are blown and our thyroids are taxed and we're overweight because of it, and our stress hormones are kicking in, and we have infertility, and we have, you know, reactionary stuff going on. I mean, I could go down the list. You guys probably know most of them. But if we all were to get still, we'd get kinder. We'd get more relaxed. We'd create space to really get in touch with the things that need to heal and move through us, but also to take a moment to really get in touch with our passions and our loves, and use that space to clear and then clean it up and then move towards those things. And, you know, my whole thing about utopia is that we all live our passions and dreams, and then, you know, all this other stuff falls away, whether you're an accountant or whether you're a spiritualist or whatever. So that was one of my thoughts, is like, if we all just found our still points when they happened and honored them, that would be a really phenomenal shift, at least for our culture, because we don't honor those places. And, you know, and then the mind makes it all about, if I'm not a producer, then I'm a depressive.
Yeah, right. Well, you're reminding me, too, that in all the moments that I sit, another permeating message along with that quietude is that being calm and being at peace is one of my greatest offerings, knowing that we ripple into the collective consciousness. But there's all those layers you have to peel away. You know, the mind has so many statements on our quietness, and it's like, and then we have the fear of, we get quiet and still, and we don't want to do anything. You know, we don't want to do this project. We don't want to make that phone call. We don't want to pay the bill. And you start to come back into your mind. It's like, no, I got to do that. I'll get still later. I'll go pay the bill, then I'll come back and get still. And I think a lot of us, you know, when you speak of utopia, a lot of us have tried to peel away our lives to make it as simple as possible so we have less things grabbing us. But our stuff is internalized. It's internalized in our mind, you know, because have you ever had that opportunity, like maybe you take your 2-week vacation. How many people go on vacation, right, and they've got 14 days off, and about the 11th day,
They start to relax.
Right. It's like, so the mind keeps spinning, and if we go by like what Lily Earthling shared, the mind is where all the programming is, where everything we have been living that has been untrue is all wound up here. So I know better than to listen to that too much when I'm trying to get into my body.
Reminds me too of our culture as yogis, you know. People go, oh, you do yoga. And it's like, no, what we do in America is asana style American exercise.
Yeah.
And people go, huh? And I'm like, yeah, you do asana. That's the exercise part. And really that branch of yoga practices is specifically there to get your body to a place where you can sit in stillness and meditate. But as Americans, we pretty much do the asana practice, and then we have shavasana, which is corpse pose, but we do it with music, or somebody walking around with a didgeridoo, blowing in our face, and someone spraying like cedar wood on us. And when really it's about, corpse pose. It's about going completely internal, retracting all of your senses, which is so funny to me, because if that pose is about retracting all of your senses inward, and we're spraying people with essential oils, and we're playing a didgeridoo, or we're doing
you're
a
still out
harmonium, or it's like,
Yeah.
that's relaxation. That's not really, shavasana, but so it reminds me that we don't even create. And yes, asana is really important. I think it's great that we're doing it as a culture, but we're not taking it to the next place.
Exactly.
So it just
Which then, I mean, it's another tool. The asana is a tool to prepare yourself to go inward.
Yeah.
And when you get to that inward bridge, that's personal. That's how everyone does it. But you know what's coming to mind, and you'll appreciate this.
Okay.
It's a exercise that's been used in dance therapy. And the reason I'm acknowledging...
I think I was just thinking of that and I forgot the thought.
This is a great exercise, and I integrated it, years ago, I integrated it into my shamanic improvisational work. And what it was, dance therapists were experimenting with working with individuals who were cathartic. Cathartic meaning there's no movement, there's nothing coming out of the person, right? And so what they did was that...
Catatonic?
Cathartic.
Cathartic.
Or catatonic. You're
Catatonic.
right. You're right. It's catatonic. And so what they did, and I'm going to explain the bridge to how I brought it into my exercises. They covered the individual up with like pads and blankets and pillows, and they just created this cocoon. So that what you were doing was you were affirming and enforcing that catatonic state of no movement, nothing. You wanted to be almost no sensational stimulation. And what occurred is the being that was catatonic started to have impulses to move. So it was kind of like the way I transferred that exercise is when we get in that place where, excuse me, where we just don't feel the impulse to do anything, or we just get like, annoyed, right? The reverse, it's kind of like reverse psychology. Well then, let's empower no movement, all right? Let's empower even darkness. So the way I translated that into the shamanic improv is I always encourage my participants that the times that you feel like, oh, I don't want to go dance and sound, I don't want to move, or I just want to stay home, I usually would encourage them saying that's the perfect time to come to class. Bring your stuff to class. Bring your tired self, your, not wanting to do, all that. Bring your ookies. And so what we did was I took the ensemble of dancers and the individual that was mostly feeling that, we'd cover them up with our bodies, make sure there was no light coming in, and we'd just all be a pile of beings. And the instruction was the one who was exploring that catatonic state, not until they felt they wanted to move were the rest of the ensemble getting their cues to begin to move with them. All right? And we're talking about weight, too. They put weight on them. And sometimes an individual would stay in there for like 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden there would be a desire to move, and it would begin the dance. They would start to move, and they had something to push against. All right? They wanted to see again outside, and the instruction was to work from the dance, from that small dance, and begin to just, what part of your body wants to move now? But from a genuine internal cue. And I just always felt that was such an empowering experience. And then I've done it to myself where I just do my individual dance. I'll stay all cocooned until, you can only stay cocooned so long, and then your body wants to move, your leg wants to open up.
But you're honoring that. So that reminds me of a couple things. As a dance movement therapist, this is what I did clinically for ages, but so it reminds me of a couple of things. One is that, when we experience catatonia, or when we are feeling like we need to just go deep and be still, it's usually because our nervous systems are shot. And in our culture, we blow out our nervous systems, our adrenals, our thyroids, our nervous system, all of these things, our hormone levels, and yet we don't know how to quiet ourselves enough to be still. But this idea of putting pressure and boundaries and that proprioceptive information that we're being kind of held and contained is actually what regenerates the nervous system. And so you're really speaking about authentic movement, and authentic movement is a theoretical model or practice that dance movement therapists have used for years, where you get very quiet and still, and you wait for the internal movement to become external. And most people have this, and I practiced it a lot over the years. It was a daily practice for us in my master's program. But you can hear yourself going, okay, I should have moved by now. I want to move this by now. No, that's not what it is. Okay, and so this.
I'm taking up too much time.
Or everybody else is moving, or what's my professor going to say?
Awkward.
Yeah, what's my professor going to say? Because I laid here the whole entire time.
They're going to think I'm really sick.
Or they might mention something like that. Like you didn't move the whole entire time. And it's like, well, do I have to? Was it authentic for me to move? And that's coming from someone who's practiced stillness for a really long time.
Yes.
But then you have people that are so fearful of engaging in stillness or disengaging to be still, that we take on a lot of agitation, psychomotor agitation, and we constantly have to be moving, because if we're still, then the stuff comes up. But it's this idea, I think, that as a culture, our nervous systems are completely taxed, and that this idea of being really still, and and I've had sessions.
I'm relating to that. I get oversensitized.
Yeah,
I
overstimulated.
Get overstimulated. I'm like, ugh. And I have to get in some kind of cocoon space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had whole sessions where I wasn't leading. You've led some too, actually, where I was so flat and heavy on the ground that I didn't move, and people had to jump over me and walk over me, and I was just like, an hour and a half, not moving. Because that's just where I needed to be heavy, heavy, heavy on the floor.
Well, I have found when I'm sitting, if I'm getting uncomfortable, let's say my mental is still going, and I get uncomfortable, I find that I have an impulse to move so I can get away from my thought. It's like my movement is to actually get away from my mind. And movement, right, when you're moving around, you don't dwell on anything. You don't go deeply into it. You kind of distract yourself.
But the flip side of that is sometimes moving brings you really deeply into it.
Yeah, this is
true.
But
we're speaking from a place of, okay, here's two dancers sitting here saying, don't move.
Yeah, right.
Just don't do it.
It's a new day. This is the new dance.
Move. The dance of stillness. Do your dance of stillness.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, you need to practice stillness in order to know when to move. So is the movement a distractor? The psychomotor agitation, then moving away from a thought, being deep in meditation and needing to fidget, or is it the movement an impulse from your authentic stillness that's organic and essential, that helps clear something as opposed to help move away from something? And I know when I teach meditation, it's interesting because even advanced yogis, advanced asana practitioners, or even Kriya practitioners, Kundalini yoga, have a really hard time sitting. It's really uncomfortable. And you think after all of the yoga we do, asana we do, that we'd be able to sit in meditation, but our knees cramp and our neck cramps and our body cramps and we get fidgety. And so there's some discrepancy between how we practice and where it leads. Because we have so much nerve disorder, and we have so much anxiety, and we have so much pent up, and our stress hormones are so off, that even with all the practices we do to get really still. There's something missing. So I always say get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if you're practicing meditation with discomfort, then basically you're practicing discomfort. You're refining the art of discomfort.
Right.
And so I say just learn and then you'll clear. But, you know, put bolsters under you. Sit really, I mean, when I do my hour-long meditations, my pranayama and mantra work, I sit with pillows propped up, my feet on something, you know, as long as this part of my body is straight and my lungs have the capacity to, you know, have full breaths. And a lot of people disagree with me. Well, we have to practice to do things with excellence. And I'm like,
well,
but
that eliminates
you are doing it with excellence.
so many people. It eliminates so many people. I agree. I, for years, did the yoga practice and suffered constantly. My knees, my lower back. Finally, I just let that go and found that, I mean, this is one of my favorite places to sit on this couch. I sit comfortably. And I so much more quickly can find quiet. Yeah. So I agree. It's like those postures, it's just another tool option. But it's not necessarily the one you need.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us have the ability to go in. And now some people say, you know, oh, I have to ride my bike for 5 miles. And I used to be a runner. And I'd have to run for 5 miles before I could have a good sit. It was like I had to expel all this physical.
That's okay too.
Whatever works. But getting quiet is, years ago when I used to do so many fasts, and then I'd sit, it's like I was so in awe of how many layers. You can feel the body. There was one time, it was either the late 70s or early 80s, I did a 40-day fast. And my commitment was to sit as long as I can. I arranged my life so that I had plenty of time to do this. And I watched my body, my skin got so
translucent.
My skin started to flake off. It started to flake off like a snake losing its skin. And it was interesting because I wanted to see, well, let's see, if I let my body release, how much more deeply could I go? And, you know, in the end, it's always your mind. It's always this. But I did do it, and it was phenomenal to see how much there is to let go. Like, even when I sit, if I've been active, it takes a while for my body to just chill out.
So I wonder what your experience has been in this learning curve of trying to become still, and what comes up for you, and is it more your mind that gets agitated and wants to move, or is it more your body that gets agitated and wants to move, or is it a combination of both? And what parts of you resist wanting to get still, like emotionally, what's going on that is underneath all of it that you're afraid might come up, or you know, what has your process been to actually, if you have a process in place that has allowed you the learning curve to become still, what discoveries did you make in that? What was uncovered? What were your tools to get you there? Curiosities around how people process these things and get there.
Of late, even though I've been sitting for years, I find that these days when I go to sit, and I can feel that it's going to take a few minutes for me to relax, I'm tapping into this very, what I'm calling raw energy. Because my focus now is so fully on engaging in my, almost like a symbiosis with the mother. And I feel this amazing rawness. It's like a rumbling going through my body. And until I accept that movement, that vibration, I don't find my calmness. And it's interesting because you would think, well, wait a minute, that's like really moving really quickly, and I can feel the vibration. But as soon as I embrace it and go, okay, this is what is, my calmness comes, and I feel this exhilaration. It's really curious to me because I think we're tapping into the Kundalini. I don't even know if I should use any terms like that. Tapping into the raw energy of the mother. Of course, she's alive and vibrant. My gosh, she's making molten lava in the center of her core. She's alive. And
she's alive!
She's alive!
Sorry. Frankenstein, I'm sorry.
And then so are we.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of, Lily Wolf's broadcast about energetically what's happening.
Lily Earthling.
Yes, Lily Earthling.
Did you hear that, Lily? She just called you Lily Wolf.
I have a friend named Lily Wolf. I'm telling you, my words aren't with me. Lily Earthlings. Hi, Lily Wolf, if you ever watch this. Lily Earthlings broadcasts that we spoke to last week about how the energy is really shifting, and I think, the magnetizing of the planet is shifting and becoming stronger, basically, is what it is. But that everybody's feeling that vibration. And a lot of people who, even if you've not been in a practice, and you're not in touch with the divine or the rhythms of the earth, or have have been on a spiritual path, people are feeling it anyway.
Right.
And going, what in the world is this? So I think it's even creating more anxiety because there's a buzz and a hum internally in everybody now that the shift has happened and people don't know what that is.
Yes.
And it's calling us to become more still, but people don't know how to, so it's even creating more anxiety when it's... And we'll eventually get there.
No,
Right now,
I agree
think
with
it's
you
kicking
because if I'm not giving awareness to that energy, it feels like I'm anxious. I feel riled up, but chaotic. I feel chaotic with it, and I can't even focus it. But as soon as I take the time to give my awareness, like, oh, this is the mother. She is like just gurgling and alive, and she's going, here, loved one, this is for you. When I finally embrace that awareness, it does serve me.
Yeah.
I'm not so out here frazzled, Well,
it's like, a tuning fork. When it first vibrates, it kind of makes us feel weird or lightheaded, and then when we kind of become used to it, our body hums with it as opposed to...
Okay. This is perfect. I'm glad you brought that up because here's the experience. I know exactly what you're saying. Here we are. We're in a certain vibration.
It goes from discord to...
And then you do this.
It's so weird with my hearing impairment. I can't even hear that. Now I can hear it.
And there's a shift. It's an inevitable shift.
But I think the point being is like this used to be a different key that we were vibrating on, and now we've got this one, and so people are going, huh?
Right.
What?
Different frequency.
A different frequency, and now because of the way the planet has shifted and the magnetic pole is different, and so the frequencies are different, and so we've gone from being really almost immune or attuned to one frequency of a different tuning fork, and now we have this one, and people aren't. They go, it's unsettling.
Okay, this is. I know you haven't had a chance to listen to this. Last night I was inspired to create a video. It's called Tone Antidote.
Are you Tesla?
No, I'm not Tesla.
Darn, you guys
it's
have
not
to
one
watch
of
the
those.
Tesla stuff.
I'll put up some Tesla stuff too.
She does Tesla commercials.
Yeah, I do. You'll have to hear my Tesla commercial. In fact, I'm thinking about posting another one. I have about 11 of them. But no, I created this video called Tone Antidote. And what I did was I took a selection of tones like, I think it's, let's see if I remember. Well, 528 is in there and 417. There's about 5 different hertz.
Yeah, hertz.
Okay. And I did some visualization with it. But basically what I did, after being on Facebook, it got to a point where I was losing my balance and I couldn't address some of those harder issues. Okay.
Addict, you needed to...
I needed to pause. I definitely needed to pause. I had lost my balance with just getting the facts, like some of the issues we've spoken of in the past, some of those hard questions and issues in the world. So I had to take a pause. And then I came up with, I'll create this tone antidote, which is what addresses what we're talking about. Changes the frequency. And I put it out on Facebook last night, and I said anyone can copy and paste. And basically, this is how I was going to use it. If there's an article that comes up in Facebook, you know, one of those hard edge ones, you can put that in the comments.
So people can listen to it?
So you can, right, so it's like a response. If something's too hard edge or it's filled with too much darkness, give them the tone antidote. Or something's really cool.
If you're not boring me,
And
I'm
you want
just
yeah,
taking
right.
oxygen.
That's okay.
You're
Or
not
something's
boring me. I'm
really
needing, whatever you're saying is making me want to kind of move and breathe more deeply. So.
all right,
okay.
good, good. And then if there's something that is really beautiful and you want to empower it, you want to enthuse it, give it the tone antidote. And I made it really short, like it's about 1 minute and 27 seconds, so that you could take the time to listen to it. But it'll shift your energy. It'll just do just like that. In fact, maybe I'll even add it at the end of our show.
How did you create it?
I had the frequencies already gathered,
Cool.
and I brought it into my movie program, Final Cut Pro, and then I used the visualizer on the Mac, and
fun.
did a screen recording of it while it was playing, so you get all the, you know, the visualization. And then just added some titles so that you know which hertz it is, and there's, the first one I think is Spiritual Alignment. I think it's 832. It's either 832 or 841, but you'll see. It says the hertz. And it's just real quick. And it goes do 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 do. You know, it's just tones. So anyway,
That's fun.
yeah, and also as I'm observing us, many of you have asked us to offer tools. I feel like we're offering tools today. You know, we're offering
I haven't
exercises.
offered a single tool.
Yes, you have.
You get flat, kiss the floor.
No, kiss the
Well,
floor.
that is a tool.
But you're a tool of make yourself comfortable. Don't worry about, you know, Rebecca shared, you know, she props herself up with pillows, da-da-da. Or lay on your back on the floor. We've offered toning. I talked about the catatonic. You know, if you're feeling that, just, you know, get someone to cover you up until you want to move. Yeah.
How about that?
How about that?
Out of nothing came some tool.
You don't realize how helpful you're being today, huh?
I'm being so helpful by doing nothing. I
Right.
love it.
Right.
I can do that. I can help you by doing nothing.
Yeah, really.
I like it.
Here, let's have a moment of absolutely nothing. I feel like that video that came by, those spiritual guys, oh my God, they were a hoot.
Okay, so you guys have to check this out. These guys
What's
are
it
so
called?
funny. Oh gosh, you asked me these things and I never remember when we're online.
They-
Google, he has a YouTube page. I forget his name, but the first one I ever saw was How to Be Super Spiritual. And he is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, check him out. And we'll post his name in the actual link, you know, to this. But yeah, How to Be Super Spiritual.
How to be super spiritual.
Yeah.
As if there is such a thing.
Right.
But I mean, like, I love some of his messages because he's basically saying, you're already spiritual. You're in this body, aren't you? I mean, bottom line, we're already spiritual. You don't have to become anything. It's right here. You know, it's our organic selves.
Yeah. He does one on ayahuasca that's hilarious. And one of the lines in it is, ayahuasca. My shaman taught me how to throw a really good party and call it a ritual. You know.
Yeah.
I love this guy. But again, it's like this thing of, you know, we're sitting here in front of you and you keep asking for tools from us and we're giving you tools on the broadcast about doing nothing. And I think that's the hilarity is like, you know, Blue and Rebecca, how can I do nothing? Ay, shut up. Like, how can I do nothing? Show me how to do nothing. It's like, we really don't know how to do nothing.
Yeah.
We don't know how to be in the empty space. We don't know how to find our still point. And that's the thing, like, we don't know how to find. We don't know how to be in. We don't know how
Right.
to discover. And it's like, you have to undiscover. You have to unwind it. You have to do nothing to find nothing, but we don't know how to do nothing to find nothing to be empty. And
Now, we've
it's
had-
so funny.
Exactly. And we've had pointers. But it's like that information that we got of late that misinformation usually carries a kernel of some truth. That's how we get hooked, because you can kind of sense there's something true, and so then we buy the whole thing. Well, throughout our lifetimes, we've had a lot of really good information in scriptures, in Bibles, in our philosophies, but they've been so torqued that it kind of misguided us. Yet those of us who have, looked between the lines, we've gotten these little kernels of truth. We kind of understand what getting still inside is, but then we're kind of think it has to be something out here.
I also think it's really interesting that you mistook the word cathartic for catatonic.
Yeah, let's look at that one.
Because catatonic is, pulling so inward that you actually physically can't move. It's the ultimate form of stillness. And yet you called it cathartic, which is the absolute form of letting everything out and releasing it. And I think we have to become catatonic and let everything regroup and regenerate before we can have catharsis.
Nice.
And yet we're doing it sort of opposite in some ways. We're constantly looking for that cathartic thing. How do I do this? How do I heal? How do I clear? How much yoga do I have to, how much asana do I have to do in order to have a catharsis and emotional cleansing? And it's like, but you haven't even gotten still yet.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't regenerated enough. You haven't gone inward enough to be able to come outward again. And it's, the theme, maybe we should change the title of our show from Get Lit to Be Still, or sit your ass down and don't move, because every single show we speak to.
Yes, we do.
Every single show has this through line of sitting in your own stillness, getting clean, getting clear, getting creative, which is the catharsis.
Mm-hmm.
And every single show, except for maybe one, I've heard myself saying, empty spaces I can't say it ever. Empty spaces bring great places.
Right.
Empty spaces bring great places. And without that, being able to sit in your own stillness, become your own observer, find your own internal corpse pose, we're not going to get to catharsis. Yet we want catharsis.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
interesting.
interesting.
Just like, a few moments ago we got quiet.
For like 10 seconds, did you know
10
that?
seconds.
It was
Okay.
unbearable.
All right, watch this. Here, we'll do an experiment together. We're going to get quiet for a minute. And just observe
Why
yourself.
don't you do it too? Because it's going to be really boring on this end.
That's what I'm asking. Get quiet with
Watch
us and observe everything that happens inside yourself when all of a sudden we don't talk. Okay. That was approximately 1 minute.
It was?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. And so, that's it.
What happened? What happened to you?
I found that my belly was swirling. And
Like nervousness?
No, it just had to calm down.
Oh.
I had to calm down more. And then I felt myself relaxing, but I also knew that, I want to keep going.
I know, I did too.
Right? I want to keep going.
Yeah. But what happened to you? I mean, did you find yourself getting antsy? My legs started falling asleep with the way I was sitting, and those little distractors come in, or did it feel too short? Did it feel like an eternity?
Was it an abrupt change? Here you were listening, engaging, and then all of a sudden we were gone.
We're very present.
Yes, very present.
Very present.
But just that minute. I call them pauses. I don't know, maybe we should start integrating pauses, nothing great, but just not so much. I mean, I know there's only so much deepening you can do in a minute, okay? But it was more noticing the absence of stimulation. Absence of, we're putting thoughts out that are churning in your mind. Then you see how it's your own thoughts that are churning in your mind, not the ones we're putting there.
Not the ones we're putting there.
Yeah, we can. Here,
back to our regular scheduled programming.
We're going to do a whole series on, would you like to be mind controlled? Would you like to have your program exchanged? We will offer you a new program. Sit here and go, okay, I just absolutely dig myself. I love who I am. Oh gosh. There's actually even, I'm getting off, but there's actually software on the internet for how to put subliminal messages in your videos.
Oh, that's
Can you
hilarious.
stand that? I mean, that is just like crazy.
Yeah, so be careful what you watch out there on your YouTube channels.
I promise I'm not doing anything to these videos.
Right, go listen to my Hertz thing and,
Right. But if I ever do it, I'll make sure everybody knows. Transparent.
Transparency in my manipulation.
Yeah.
I'm
Wouldn't it
about
be
to
great
manipulate you.
if you were getting movies and saying, we are planting this thought into your minds right now?
Well, to bring it back around, I mean...
We do anyway.
Well, we do anyway, but... yeah, I mean, this idea, too, of... We're constantly putting things out there to overstimulate people.
Yeah.
I mean, even just simply how editing has changed in filming.
Mm-hmm.
The speed at which we speak in dialogue, in media.
Mm-hmm.
And we're constantly having to catch up and and so we're working against it to, like even sound scores in films. I mean, they run through the entire film as opposed to giving that empty space, at least in American films, giving that empty space for us to be and feel and see what's going on, and they're shoving it down our throats. So it's really hard. We don't even, we don't have a whole lot of choice in what we're entrained in, and to be in this very quickly moving, not being still, not creating space or pauses. I mean, if you look at Dumbo and Snow White compared to even The Lion King for children's animation compared to now, because The Lion King was over a decade ago, they're so different.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's like, I think we pointed this out in one of our other pre-recordings. The difference between family movies, like The Brady Bunch, as compared to now, there's barely any family movies actually. It's all, they're saying that you're seeing a lot of teenagers grouped together. They're the family. And you don't see the parents anymore, or Leave It to Beaver. Where they were teaching, the difference was they were teaching more about morals, for whatever that word is worth, but, just what's right within.
I can't believe she's about to talk about what she's about to talk about. Go on.
But anyway,
you should go watch Leave It to Beaver. Sign Blue.
Go back and watch Leave It to Beaver. No, oh goddess, please not. But I'm just making the point where the message was so different.
Yeah.
And it actually is as corny and as hokey as it was. It seemed to be on a better track.
Yeah, so we're just fighting against it. Really trying to find ways to, I think people are craving ways to be still, but every part of our day we're bombarded. And our nervous systems are shot. And I think that's why Kriya practices of things like Kundalini Yoga, it's the yoga of the nervous system. It's about regenerating the nervous system, and it's so needed right now.
Oh, the movie that recently came out, I had posted it in my page, Grounding.
Yeah.
Simple, beautiful. I highly recommend it. Grounding is just a young man. He was out in a rustic rural area of Alaska. He had pains in his back, And he just happened to catch on the internet a doctor that was talking about lay on the earth. Simple. Lay on the earth. Walk barefoot on the earth. So he crawled under his cabin because everything else was covered up with snow, 15, 20 feet of snow. Took all his clothes off, laid down on the wet soil under his cabin, and his back pain went away. So he started paying more attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing you know, he's plugging a piece of wire into the mother and then running it to wherever he wants to feel the grounding, as well as he's starting to walk barefoot. Well, the whole movie just breaks out. Simple. And
so there's another tool.
yeah, there's the earth. There's the mother just waiting for you to lay down on her.
So that's a really great point, because there's a whole thing about grounding and how it's really healing. And take a moment and think about this. So we live in houses that are built on foundations or concrete pads. We walk on sidewalks. We drive on highways with rubber tires. We walk from parking lots to grocery stores, to buildings, to the pharmacy, whatever it may be.
With rubber soles.
With rubber soles or another kind of sole, on concrete or asphalt, into a building that's linoleum, concrete, asphalt. So when was the last time, except every once in a while when you take a vacation and you put your feet in sand, even when you're out for a hike, you're still in shoes.
Yes.
So when was the last time you actually spent a lot of time with your feet connected to the earth? And, we don't think about this stuff, but I don't remember the last time my feet, barefoot, touched dirt. It was last summer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really something to this theory about the earth's vibration is a healing vibration, and it's a magnetic pull, like we've talked about simply, and that we're not with it at all at any level at any given time. And so even just going outside and standing for 2 minutes, even if it's winter, barefoot, not on your concrete, not on your deck, but find that little patch, even if it's like, if you have like one of those little back patios and it's lined with just bushes or dirt, then go stick your feet in between the bushes and the dirt if that's all you got. But do it barefoot, and it's actually really fascinating what happens to you. So that's another tool. Go, put your feet
and she's
earth.
Free. She's free.
Yeah, or put one up, if you don't even have that, just take your shoe off and stick your foot up on a tree and then do the other one.
Yes, that was the other thing. Well, and you heard Lily when she talked about her childhood, she just stayed out there by the trees. She leaned against the trees. And then she finally just laid on the earth. Simple. But we've been steered away from our organic healing connectedness to this electromagnetic source.
The other thing that comes up for me too is about how we have such rampant ADD and dysfunction in our children, and hormone disruptors and early onset puberty and all these different things. And there's a really brilliant book, which some of you may know, called Last Child in the Woods. And it's all about how our disconnect to nature is creating all these issues with children. And it speaks, and then when you take these children that are on the autism spectrum, ADD, scholastically not very adept, academically not very adept, and you take them and teach them experientially in nature, that they instantly calm down. And it speaks to that thing about earthing,
Well, about, let's see, I think it was around the year 2007.
I cannot see with them.
And I've always, I've been living pretty much in rural environments for a long time now. But I was told to find like a hole in the earth and to go lay in it. And I was actually even given a visualization of like carving out like an earth seat. And what I was hearing is that if we get into a hole in the earth and just kind of lay against the mother, there's a organic shielding from all the microwaves and radio waves. And I found this hole, and I would go in it, and I would just lay there. And it was another kind of silence that I experienced. It's like, we don't hear necessarily the microwaves or the radio waves. Sometimes we can. But there was another silence. And I felt my body settle down. And so I had even started a project where I was carving it out real comfortably. Because here in Arkansas we have a lot of clay, so it's easy to, like, you know, pat it. But you can do it with earth anywhere. Where you dig it so that there was enough of a carving out into the side of the earth. And I made like little arm rests and a place to just put my feet, and I'd be barefoot. And I just sit there. It's amazing. So earth chairs, you know, you can create those anywhere.
Yeah, it reminds me too of, I have a cottage on the coast of Lake Michigan, and my grandmother used to always say, the babies sleep well with the country air.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but the country earth too. And, you know, it's so interesting because everybody's redoing their cottages and putting in central heat and air. And at night you hear, you know, and we're all very, you know, pretty spread out anyway, but you hear the buzzing of, you know,
Right.
central heaters, air conditioning going, and we won't put it in. We have nothing. We're just still a cottage, and I love it. And we sleep with the windows wide open, and we sweat during the day, and we
Yeah.
have fans on us at night. And there's really something also about, you know, just sleeping with the elements around you too. And obviously we're right on Lake Michigan, so it's like being on the ocean. So there's definite weather and breeze and stuff. But, you know, we're getting even further away from being in stillness and the rhythms of just nature. We're just encapsulating ourselves. Even, you know, people on a cottage with a lake view have their windows closed in the summer
Right.
with their air conditioning going
Right.
and the TV on, and then they take their 2 hours and go swimming at the beach and come back up. But, you know, we look at all the dysfunction we're having, our nervous system, our attention deficit disorders, our hormones, our stress, our displacement of stress, our anxiety, depression, all these different things. And, you know, we're speaking of earthing, and we're speaking of needing to be still but having too much anxiety to do so, and our nervous system's so
right.
shot, and we're being bombarded with media and quick editing and people talking really fast, and then, you know, when I see my daughter at the cottage, she's so much happier and so much more grounded because her feet are on the earth all day, and she's breathing fresh air, not in a contained environment, and she's able to get more still. We're all able to get more still. Those of us that don't put in central heat and air, which there's a few of us.
Right.
But so there are some tools, you know. I mean, and everybody says go be in nature, but go be in nature barefoot.
Yes. Yes.
Even if you're on a hike, end the hike by just standing without your hiking boots on or
Oh,
shoes on.
Facebook, one of our local residents just put pictures up. She's out in the snow barefoot.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
Well,
Out in the
I'm
snow
on a
barefoot.
technology fast right now, so I haven't seen it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. It is, and it doesn't have to be long, you know. You can just stand there or you can walk there.
so do that. Do that for like a week. Go outside and stand for even, I mean, I think 3 or 4 minutes would be good, but even 30 to 40 seconds every day, barefoot on a patch of earth, and then get back to us and let us know if it changed anything. That's a really easy tool everybody can do.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. And even in this cold, you know, I'm sure there are people viewing this that aren't in cold weather, but even in this cold, you can last, you know, a couple of minutes. Just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I would say 30 seconds if you're stepping in snow, but you know, her idea of something quick is like, you know, mine is 30 seconds, hers is like 5 minutes. Like, it's only an hour and a half long. Like, people won't pay attention that long. They won't be able to do it, but try. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Get back to us. The other thing that's really good is doing, in your shower, turn the water to freezing cold, and then do a bristle brush right afterwards and turn it back to hot, because it just regenerates your nervous system and settles it.
Yes.
And that's something I practice, especially when I'm in a part of my cycle where I'm a little bit more or not sleeping well or something's going on energetically. I do it for even longer, and you get out and you're just kind of like, just oxygenates your body. So these are all tools you can put in place. Stick your feet on the earth, turn your shower to cold, and dry brush your vigorously brush when it gets back to hot. Technically you're supposed to dry brush for, you know, whatever, first before you get in the shower, and then cold shower, but I don't do that.
Because it opens up the pores.
Yeah, but I don't do it that way. It's too torturous.
Yes, there are so many simple tools.
And get comfortable to do your meditation. Don't fight against that, because then you'll be practicing discomfort and distraction.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, one of my long-time favorites is tapping. You know,
You're tapping.
tapping, waking up the cellular, clearing the cellular memory. As you know that there's programming that we want to release, you're just holding that
A
affirmation.
great way to tap, actually, that I have found. I used to use this with psychotic patients, and I learned it from a psychotic patient, actually.
Ooh, a psychotic tool.
Yeah, a psychotic tool, and not to make you psychotic, make you not psychotic.
This is to relieve your psychosis.
This was an Asian man, and he was much older, and they thought he was beating himself. And he was in one of my groups. And I said, give me a little bit of time with him. I don't think that's what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would cup his hands in C shapes. And he would do his whole body, like, you know.
Yeah.
And so one day I asked him to share it. And everybody was doing it. They're like, oh my gosh, Rebecca, what have you done? They're all beating themselves. I'm like, no, he's actually doing
Yes.
He's stimulating his circulation, detoxifying his body.
Yeah.
And he's regenerating his nervous system. And try it. Cup your hands to your whole body and do it for like 3 or 4 minutes at least. And if you do them flat, then it hurts. But cup them, keep them firm.
Yeah,
do
it
your
creates a
organs, do
suction.
everything. And it feels so good. And then do your meditation.
I was introduced to that as a child. I had asthma, and when I couldn't breathe, you smack the back like this, cupping. And now I think at least friends I had that were doing acupuncture and chiropractic, there's actually suction cups.
That they can.
Yeah, and it does. It sucks the skin away. It sucks the energy.
You'll build some heat in your body too when you do it. You definitely build heat. So there's lots of tools we just gave you today for getting still, and we'd love to hear if you tried some and what it feels like for you.
Well, Goddess
Get flat on the
knows there are
floor.
tools abundantly on the internet. My personal thing is, I think, is we like to have simple tools. You know, I don't have to go into the whole history of why
Hurry
the
up and
cupping,
get still. I
why
only have 30 seconds.
anatomically it's affecting my intestinal and it's like
Some
just
people like that
cup.
information.
see if it feels good. Simple,
Good, try
simple, and we don't charge a thing for it.
Get your feet on the earth, come inside, take your cold shower, brush it. You're washing up anyway, and then, you know, some point in there, take your hands and cup them and smack your whole body, and then you'll be good.
Yeah,
and then
right.
get flat on the ground after that.
And you don't have to spend $50,000 to $100,000 on your education.
Yeah, we just gave it all to you.
Find out how to heal yourself.
Finding out how to being still is how you heal. So let's get everybody to a place where we can put some really simple tools in place to start moving towards stillness by choice.
Yeah.
Usually we get into stillness because we're so exhausted, and you know, I've worked with lots of people where you know, I'll introduce them to just a breathing meditation. I'll ask them how they feel afterwards. They said, "Oh my gosh, I feel so exhausted." Because they've let their body get still enough, they realize how tired they are. So you even have to get through that exhaustive stillness to be able to get through regenerative stillness.
You know, I've always had this theory that...
Just one?
Oh, of course. Here's
Just one.
one of them. Is that the moment all of us are really released from the having to do anything, including, you know, our jobs or whatever, that when we're finally released and everything's provided for, my sense is every human on this planet is going to sleep for like 3 weeks straight. Because I think, in general, our species is exhausted. We are just exhausted. And that when we do stop, I think like what I said, when you take that 2-week vacation, it's about the 11th day that you finally put it down enough. But I really think we're just going to be like bears that go into hibernation. We are just going to sleep, 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 and wake up and find out, wow, we have a whole new body, a whole new beingness.
Yep. Get your groceries first and then go to sleep.
Yeah, right. Make sure you have your favorite meal ready when you wake up.
Gather your nuts and berries. Hibernation.
And don't worry about the children and your pets. They'll be taken care of. They'll probably be sleeping right alongside you.
Of course they will.
Well, you know, a lot of times I used to watch my dogs, always had animals, and I used to watch my dogs when I was kind of still participating in the rat race and not happy about it. And I look at me, you know, I'm pushing another 5-6 hours on my computer task, and I look down and my dogs are sacked out, not only for the 5 or 6 hours that I've been on the computer, but they started 3 hours before I started and they're 6 hours after I'm still finished. So I finally started looking at my dogs and taking my cues. You know, when they were snooping around and active or they wanted to go out and run and play, I was like, oh, okay. And as soon as they started to find their little nest and curl up, that was my cue.
Well, technically dogs do sleep many more hours than we do, and they need more sleep than we do in general, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I took my cues from my animals.
Mm-hmm.
Especially you know,
if it's been like 3 days and you haven't slept and you've seen them sleep. It's probably time to get some rest.
Yeah, all right. But you know how like sometimes, you know, they've been up, but they go right back to sleep. They rest. They rest.
So let's all be a bunch of little bears who cup our hands and smack ourselves, take cold showers, dry bristle brush ourselves, and lay flat on the floor like heavy, heavy pieces of concrete. There's your tool.
Get our soles of our feet covered with the earth.
Yeah, get dirty.
Get dirty.
Get lit, get dirty, get still, get clean.
There we go. That's the message of today.
Here's your message brought to you by the letter N for nothing. Back to your regular scheduled programming. Thank you all for being with us. We would love your feedback on if you've tried these things, when you try these things.
Yeah, and we hope you enjoyed the 1 minute out and enjoy another minute in.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.